Happy Friday.
Hello.
Thursday.
Wow.
You can see where my mind is already
I
at.
was like, wait.
Let's just redo that.
Is this delayed?
Hey guys. Happy
Welcome. Happy Thursday. It's Frankie Shayne and Katie Lane, and we are here with your prospecting call. No, live.
Where are we at
Facebook
today?
We've had snow here the last few days. The town's been semi-shut down,
snow,
iced.
Yeah.
People aren't leaving if they don't have to, and it's kind of throwing everything off. She thought it was Friday. I didn't know what day it was, honestly, and it's been just.
But we're here.
Yeah, but we're here,
and so are you.
Yes.
So today.
Yes.
I have a question for you.
Hit me with it.
Okay. So you do a lot of three-way training, don't you?
Yes, I do.
And for those of you who don't know what three-way training is, what is that?
Okay, three-way training is a lot like it sounds. We do three-way calling, and what we do is we have our distributors, our trainees, on the line with me, and they will put their phone on mute, and then I will three-way call or party line call, whatever you want to call it, to the prospects that they have, either responses to postcards they've done, responses to ads that they have placed, and sometimes just they'll buy a call list, a cold call list, and they're like, hey, help me go through these. These are used for training purposes. The whole point of these three-way calls is so they get to hear someone who's been doing this a while and how I approach people, how I answer questions, what information I give, what information I withhold, all these different things so that they understand what to do to target a prospect's needs in the process of calling them, prospecting.
Nice.
So
okay,
that's what a three-way call is.
Okay, so I have a question again.
All right.
How do you think I guess maybe I should start with this. Cold calling is usually one of those avenues of marketing that we usually say, if you're not up for the rejection,
right,
don't start with cold calling.
Right.
Don't put all your eggs into that basket, because you're going to run into a lot of rejection.
Right.
Or nobody answering the phone, leaving a lot of voicemails. Right.
And that's something that you notice really in the last, I don't know, 20 years, 15 years, whatever. As caller ID became a thing, we started noticing a little bit. Well, now most people have cell phones instead of home phones, and most cell phones have caller ID built into them.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're calling someone and it's an unfamiliar area code, unfamiliar number, it doesn't pop up with anyone's name that you know, you're suspect.
Yep.
And part of that's because of robocalling. There's a lot of calls out there that you pick up and they're wanting to know about your car's insurance, or they're wanting to know about extended warranty. It's all these things, or they're doing some sort of survey, or hi, you've got this or that,
right.
And so when people see a number they don't recognize, they typically aren't going to respond.
Right.
But if you leave a message to where they can then connect that number with that message for the next time around, you do a little better. But you're 100% correct. Cold calling is the best way to get thick skin.
Yeah.
Because you're going to go through a lot of numbers, and you're going to get a lot of messages, and you're going to get a lot of people that want to know why you're calling them.
Right.
So yeah, cold calling can be pretty tough, but it's a good way to like I said, toughen up a little bit. It's a good way to kind of dip your toe in the water.
Yeah.
And get over that initial, like, calling someone I don't know about something, I don't know if they're going to be interested. That's a fear a lot of people have, and sometimes it's exacerbated when someone answers and just goes off on you.
Right.
But once you've done that a few times, you realize I'm never going to see this person again.
Right.
They don't know who I am outside of me giving them my first name.
Right.
It's not like this person I'm going to run into them at the bank or the corner store and they're going to get mad at me for calling them.
Right.
These are people that are responding to things, and 90% of the time, cold call or not, they've responded to something.
Yes. Yeah.
Something showing some kind of interest in either the market, and business opportunity, network marketing,
right,
nutritional products. There's always some sort of tie in there.
Right.
So
so a follow-up question.
Okay.
It's a double one too.
Okay.
Okay. First question: what was the least amount of cold call or three-way calls you had to do with somebody before they took it by the reins?
That's a good one. It really depends on the person. I would probably say the quickest turnaround I've ever had. I don't remember exactly who it was by name, but I do remember that there was someone who had been in the industry a while. They had been successful in the industry, and they already felt somewhat confident doing them.
Right.
But what they wanted to hear was how we presented our opportunity.
Right.
They're like, okay, I understand how to sell the market. I understand how to explain pay plans. What I need to know is how do you approach them with this particular opportunity?
Right.
Because they had been involved in, I do remember this, they were involved in one of these companies out there that sell services, whether it be discount travel or discount legal or discount medical. There's all kinds of businesses doing that. They were used to selling services.
Okay.
So to go from selling services to all of a sudden now I'm selling a tangible product.
Right.
How do I sell this? So that person, I remember that being, and I think that they actually wanted to fast track it. So we did, I think, 3 cold calls a week. I think we did a morning, an afternoon, and a night on a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Okay.
And I think it was just, I think with those people, I think we only went through about 2 weeks of training, which would have been 6 calls.
Right.
Most people do once a week because of the way the schedules work out. And many times it can be 6 to 8 weeks. So when you look at the number of calls, it was still similar, but they did it in a quick kind of like, let's do this in 2 weeks. I want to get enough calls, different times of the day so we can catch people. And I want to hear how you present it. I want to hear when people ask you how you know which direction to go with things. Okay. That's all they wanted. Basically for them, it was like a refresher course on something that they just hadn't particularly done before. Right. So that was probably the quickest, about 2 weeks, about 5 or 6 calls.
Do you feel like the majority of the cold calling or three-way calls training that you do with people is mostly with people who are not experienced in the industry?
The prospects or the distributors?
Distributors.
What I find with cold calling is that many times they are people who have had some level of experience. Now, that's the reason they choose cold calling, because they feel, okay, I have a grasp of what's going on. Right. And another reason a lot of people choose cold calling, it's inexpensive. You can buy these cold call lists for a couple cents a lead. I mean, it's not that expensive. But it takes a lot more elbow grease, because you got to get out there and you got to get at it. Right. And as you mentioned, a lot of times, cold calling it's a way to cut your teeth, you know? And so, but these people, many of them have been in the industry they have a general understanding of the industry, and they want to just they're like, okay, I just need to get some training. So this is a cheap way for me to get training and maybe get a few people in the process. I can't say that it's overwhelmingly that they signed a bunch of people up from them. We've signed people up from them. Right. No problem. But the numbers game and numbers percentages on those that you will turn around cold calling versus people who are responding to something that you placed out there, it's vastly different. It's a lot more difficult. But again, I know people that say, I don't care. I want to get out there and I want to learn how to face people and get over the fear of making that initial call. Right. Because I mean, you remember when you went from mailing packets to calling even distributors. Yeah. Those first few times you're like dialing those numbers. It's like you're so anxious, like, oh my, once I hit this last one, they're going to answer. Yeah. And it's like, and you feel like you're intruding on their time or their evening or whatever. So you automatically feel like the minute it starts ringing, you're already beginning to get this fear that I'm the bad guy here. Yes. And then when they answer and they have that attitude, then you're like, oh my God, I don't want to make the next call. Right. But what happens is you'll do that because in that case where you were at and me coming up, it was part of the job. You just have to keep doing it. But then what happens is you'll get through 5, 6, 10, maybe a dozen, maybe 20 people that are either rude or are very dismissive of you. Then you'll catch that one that's really interested. And then all of a sudden you get this confidence, like, I can do this all day. Right. Until you go through another 20 of them that tell you, get off my phone. So cold calling, it gives you a little bit of confidence. It gives you a lot of stick-to-itiveness because you just got to keep plugging away. Yeah. but it's a tough way to go. But it has benefits, but I wouldn't try to build a multi-million-dollar business off of cold calls.
Just on cold
Yeah,
calls.
me personally, even as long as I've been doing this, I wouldn't want to build an entire business off of just cold calls. I would
So
use
you would-
that as a supplementary to other things.
Right.
Just so, like, let's say you're doing an advertisement, and a lot of these magazines are bi-monthly, or
Mhm.
yeah, every 2 months. Every other month is when they go out. So let's say that you do an advertisement and you put a magazine ad in, and let's say you get 20 responses off it.
Right.
Okay. And let's say you've called all those 20. You've exhausted them all. You signed one or two up. You got a customer here and there. Some of them just won't return your calls. You've exhausted them, but now you've got a whole month of nothing to do.
Right.
That might be when I would do cold calls, because
Right.
it keeps you active.
Right,
It
yeah.
keeps you going. So that's what I like about cold calls, is they keep you sharp. They keep you on your game.
Mhm.
But again, nowadays it's a lot harder, even if it's not cold calling, just to reach people.
Right.
And so that's another thing. Social media is a good way to kind of close that gap.
Mhm.
But again, social media, people are they're so saturated.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
you
yeah.
work social media, and it's like you can have a great presentation, you have a great product, you have something catchy, and it still may just sit there and get 20 views.
Mhm.
And then sometimes the most random thing you think won't get anything we get 1,000 views,
Right.
but it has no real value.
Yes.
So, okay, I got 1,000 views. Maybe that will bring them to me for my next thing of value.
Right.
So that's what you want to do with social media, is you got to kind of pepper it out there and get content. And when you find something that catches people's attention, then you want to jump on that and try to kind of ride that shirt tail,
Right.
milk that a little bit, so that you're like, okay, I've got their attention. So maybe now they'll look for my next content.
Yeah.
So you want to try and keep it fresh and new and keep it hot, so that they're not like, oh, this was a great one, I really like this. And then they watch your next one, it's a dud.
Right.
And that's the trick with social media, because 15, 20 years ago, when MySpace was going out and Facebook was coming in, Facebook was the hot new thing, and
Right.
people were like, boom, 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 because they were like, oh my gosh, my childhood friends, I can find them now, blah, blah, blah. And you can do some of that on MySpace, but on MySpace, I remember MySpace, everybody had no one went by the real name. Everyone on MySpace was like, oh, wow, social media, I can be whoever I want to be. But with Facebook, that changed. And so people were seeking out old connections they had.
Right.
And so it created this, people that jumped into that new when it was fresh benefited way more than now.
Right.
Because now Facebook's become a marketplace, whether
Very
you want
saturated.
to believe it or not. I mean, how many times have you searched Google for the most random thing because you saw it on a commercial or someone said something, and then the next thing you know, for the next week, different brands of that random thing show up in your
Yes.
timeline. And I mean, the algorithms are they've made it a lot tougher, they've made it easier for these big corporations, made it tougher for people out there trying to get off the ground with a startup or
Right.
or home-based business. So,
Yeah. I definitely think that having or knowing what the value is of this opportunity is
Mhm.
very important
absolutely.
when you are marketing,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
not just for you to know and to do better in your presentations, that is one point, but
Right.
also because there are going to be times when things just get tough.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
not seeing progress.
Right.
It's going to come in waves,
Mhm.
and
Ebbs
you
and flows.
yeah, you have to grasp onto the real true value of what this opportunity brings to you, why you enrolled in the first place.
Yeah.
And like you were talking about with social media, same thing goes for every single marketing avenue that you are
Right.
going to use, is that there are so many variables that go into that moment where they're
Right.
seeing that content or hearing your voice or
Yeah.
seeing your number come across their phone. So many variables, the time of day, what their mindset was in that moment, what social media they're using, what colors you used in your social media ad, what
Right.
wording you used, did you use a video with something with movement?
Right.
There's so many variables of different things that apply to that moment.
Right. And you've
So,
always got to be on.
right,
That's the thing with social media, especially mediums like this, where they see you. You have to be on. You can't afford an off day,
right,
because the minute you have an off day, everyone's like, oh, that can be a put off to someone. So and you never know when someone's watching your video and that's the first time they're seeing you.
Right.
Every single video is a first impression video.
Yeah.
That's what is crazy about social media.
Yeah.
How many times have you seen on TikTok, or I've seen on TikTok, someone shows up in your For You page, or someone suggests something to you and you're like, wow, and it's your first time seeing that person, first time seeing their video. That right there can make or break whether you ever follow them or ever try to look their videos up again. Even though to them it's 100 videos in, as far as you're concerned, it's a first impression.
Right.
So every single social media video or anything like that, imagine and think in the mindset that this is a first impression to somebody that's viewing.
Right.
And it puts a little bit more pressure on you, but it also forces you to be on your game at all points. That's what we're saying. That's where content, and whether there's a viral aspect to it or not, it's like there has to be, you can't afford to be off.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because once you are, and people see that, the people that see you all the time, sure, they know you at this point. People that have never seen you and they see you, it's an off night for you, one off night out of 100 videos, but to them, that's their first impression.
Right. Yeah.
It can be a bit taxing, but that's just the nature of the beast. That's the way it goes. And so
I think it's important to realize that you can only do so much, with all the variables that go into any avenue of marketing. You can only do so much.
Right.
The mindset of the person that's seeing that content or hearing your voice or listening to your voicemail when you're doing those cold calls, that is just as important and makes, I don't know what a percentage would be, but I would say probably 70% of the outcome is on the person's mindset.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So you can only do so much. Now, obviously, you need to prepare yourself, because as we've said before on these lives, if you're failing to prepare, you're preparing to fail.
Right.
So make sure that you are on top of your game as much as you can be. So when that moment comes and you do all that you can, when you're leaving that conversation, if they say no, or if they don't answer, you were ready.
Right.
And you gave your all.
Right. There's no stone unturned.
Right.
You've done all your best.
Yeah. Even just sitting there listening to the phone dial and knowing that they're probably not going to answer because it's already been 6 times that it's done the me thing, even just keeping your mindset as, okay, I'll just call them next week. This is no big deal. Brush it off your back. Right. Even just having that mindset is giving your all and preparing for success.
Right. Right. Yeah. And that's the thing, is that it has to be effort oriented. We keep telling you guys that in all of these calls, whether it's the prospecting, whether it's the marketing training, whatever the call we're on, we always tell you effort oriented. So what does that mean? It means you cannot control the result. As Caitlin just said, you can give the best presentation, answer every question to their full and utmost satisfaction. You can leave them with a smile. You can leave them feeling great about you. But at the end of that call, they still have the ability, they still have the freedom to say, nope, not interested.
Right.
And I've had it happen before. I've given presentations where the people, they are so happy with it. They love the product. They love the idea of what we're doing. They love everything about it. But when it came right down to trying to get them to close, in the nicest way possible, they're like, you're a great guy. I love the information. It sounds like a great company, but it's just not for me right now.
Right.
Okay. Well, thanks for your time. And I just move on to the next one. I don't get crushed by it. I don't think, oh my God, what did I do wrong?
Right.
Because they themselves confirm that everything I did, every question they had was answered. Every obstacle I had was overcome. Everything about the company, the product checked out in their mind, but it just wasn't right for them, or it wasn't the right time for them. You cannot control that. So all you've got to do is everything you can.
Exactly.
Prepare
yourself.
Prepare yourself. And that could be like Caitlin said, that could be just dialing that number. In that instance, when they don't answer, you've just done everything you could because you dialed the number and you waited for the ringtone.
Which
That's all you
actually,
can do.
hey, we have a challenge for you. Okay. If you are doing this cold calling avenue and you've come to the place to where you're like, okay, I'll do those 3-way calls with Shayne, the 3-way training where he calls the prospect, or he calls you and then calls the prospect with you just listening. Okay. And you're like, I got this. Okay. You've been listening. You're like, I'm really enjoying these three-way calls, but I just don't know if I can do it. I just don't know if I can do it yet.
Right.
Or you just feel like maybe you don't have a grasp on what to do.
Mhm.
We challenge you to make the call this week.
Mhm.
Make the call. Make one call and just see how it goes.
Right.
If they don't answer, they don't answer. If they pick up, they pick up. Here's what your mentality is going to be. You are giving them a gift. Okay.
Right.
It's their choice whether they take the gift or whether they leave it.
Mhm.
Okay. So you just do your best, because guess what? At some point,
Right.
the baby bird's got to fly out of the nest. Okay. And you can either do it yourself or we're going to push you.
Right.
This is a little love push. You know,
Yeah.
it's a little like gentle, like you can
Right.
do this, but you really can. And I feel like, and we've talked about this,
Mhm.
the mental block is the biggest thing.
Right.
Like if you feel like you're not prepared or you're not ready to do it, just do it, because
Right.
you probably are going to surprise yourself.
Right.
Even just dialing that number, you might surprise yourself, be like, hey, this time I stayed on until 6 rings.
Right. Right.
You know,
Yeah.
just let yourself be proud of those little baby steps that you're going to
Right.
be making.
Every little step that you take, award yourself for that. Understand that that was something you wouldn't have done yesterday.
Absolutely.
And be happy about that.
Yes.
You know, that's progress. That's progress. When we talk on these calls, it's not always about getting someone to sign. It's not always about making sure when someone buys a product. Those things come. Okay. The effort that we're asking you to put in that you can, that will eventually reap these things that we're talking about.
Yes.
There's no way it can't. It may not do it in the time frame that you have, may not do it in the time frame that you want, but it does work.
Absolutely.
It works. And so all we're saying is that each and every little step that you take, each and every tiny achievement, if you get up 5 minutes earlier and start making that a habit, that's 5 minutes earlier.
Exactly.
So what? You know, is it enough to get you where you want to be on time? Maybe not. But hey, it's 5 minutes earlier than it was yesterday.
Right. It's
You
one
know,
step.
I drank 49 ounces instead of 48 today.
That's right.
Caitlin. You know, it's the little things like that, because
Yeah.
it's those little things that move you forward. If you're doing nothing or you're doing everything the same, we've said it before, if you do everything the same, you're going to get the same result.
Mhm.
So even if you tweak one little thing to what you're doing, you're going to start seeing a change in the results.
Absolutely.
So it's all about taking that effort and always just pushing yourself a little bit further, a little bit further. Step out of your comfort zone just a tiny bit more and see where that ends you up.
Yeah.
Because the fact is that we've seen it time and time again, principle of life, not even talking about business, a principle of life. When you step out of your comfort zone and you push yourself to do something, you always get better.
Yes. And as long as you are trying, you will not fail.
Right.
Something that will be seen as failure to you or to somebody else is not truly a failure, because you're trying.
Right.
You're always trying. You're in that trying mentality. So
Right.
if you're calling that person this week and you've decided to make that call and you dial the number and you hang up,
You
that
dial
is
the
not
number.
failing.
Right.
Yeah. You tried. You put that mental energy into that. That is
Right.
all we're asking. Like you
Right.
said, effort.
Right.
Effort. That enrollment that we use as an example a lot of the time is a result.
Mhm.
What is the effort you're going to do to put towards that result?
Right. Yeah. And you can't let yourself be controlled by fear. Fear is the reason that people have this problem.
Yes.
Their fear of rejection, their fear of stepping out of their comfort zone, their fear of, sometimes, I know this sounds weird, but sometimes people fear succeeding,
Mhm.
because sometimes people realize that, oh, if I do this and I succeed, that means in order to keep succeeding, I need to keep doing it. And I'm kind of comfortable just
Right.
living the way I'm living. Sometimes people don't want success. And I know that sounds weird to say, but hear me out. Sometimes people don't like when they get successful, because they know what it took to get there, and they're not willing to keep doing that to maintain that success.
Right.
They want to reach it once and be like, I did it. There we go. Now I should be able to go on cruise. No, it doesn't work that way. You want to stay there. You want to keep that success. You got to keep doing it. Now you know the formula. Now you just got to keep doing it.
Right.
So, you know, all of these fears, you know, to quote Gary Busey, fear is false evidence appearing real. So it means that you're seeing something, like Caitlin just said, that's not really there. You have this illusion in your head of, when I call these people, they're going to reject me. They're going to be upset with me. I'm going to get cussed out. I'm going to be belittled. I can tell you, as many calls as I've made in my career and as
That's
many
a lot.
presentations as I've given in my career, I can tell you that I can say 99.9% of the time, that's not the outcome. Yes, you will run into that occasionally. There will be someone that wants to give you a piece of their mind. Here's the thing. Here's another principle to remember. It's not about you. When they're going off on you, it doesn't have anything to do with your call. You might be the last straw on the camel's back, but you're not the reason that they're upset. You're not the reason they're cussing you out. So don't take it on.
Right.
You're just doing what you've been doing with everyone else that seems okay with it.
Yeah.
So,
and maybe the first time that they do that, you'll be shocked and hang up. But maybe eventually, after hearing it a couple of times, you will get to the point to where you're like, okay, challenge accepted.
Right.
I'm going to see if I can turn this person around.
Yeah. And I've done that.
Yeah.
I've done that. I've had people get really upset with me, and, you know, and I've turned some of those people around to the point where I tell them, I'm sorry. You know, from my understanding, you had asked for this information. Have a great evening. You know, this isn't for you. And I've had some of those people, when I do that, all of a sudden they feel this sense of, wait, what are you taking away from me?
Hold on.
They're like,
Hold
wait,
on.
what are you selling? What are you selling? And I've turned people around. I've had people that the conversation started off with them, you know, trying to figure out where I lived and all kinds of things, to at the end of it, them actually being open to our opportunity.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can't let that fear control you. And unfortunately, it's pretty strong when you first start, because you're stepping out of your comfort zone, which is a fear in itself.
Right.
And now you're fearing rejection, which compounds that fear. And now you're fearing, will I look stupid? Will I know what to say? All of these things compound.
Right.
And the next thing you know, you feel like you've got this weight on your shoulders where every button of that 10-digit number feels like you're going to die.
Yes.
Every button you push.
I can relate.
Yeah, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
We're all fine. We're all still here. So, you know, this tonight is really about just kind of motivating you to step out, to overcome that fear, to not give in to that fear, to not give in to that, I can't do this. You can do this. You can be successful. You can make this work. Is it going to be easy?
Up to you.
Yeah, exactly. Is it going to be easy? It's going to be tough at times. Is it impossible? Absolutely not. It can happen. Yeah. We've seen it happen. There are endless success stories in this company of people that started with zero.
Yes.
You know, living check to check, you know, living with family, you know, 15 people in a house, you know, and then now they own 2 or 3 houses around the world.
Right.
Making money and able to pay off their parents' house, able to buy a family member's car. I mean, not that those material things is what makes success or not. I know people that haven't made all that still feel extremely successful because they're at least able to now spend time with their family whenever they want.
Or just enjoy the products and not have to pay out of pocket for it every month.
Yeah, it's again, your level of success is dependent on who you are and what you're looking for.
Yep.
So anyway,
you can do it.
Yeah, we believe in you. Yeah. So, but I mean, for real though, I mean, we appreciate everyone coming on these lives, and you know why we do these and why we continue to pump out these principles and pump out this information. Like I said, some of it's going to sound psychological. It's because it is.
Yep.
You know, a lot of this business is in your head.
Yes.
You know, anytime you see someone successful, they almost always will tell you they had to step outside their comfort zone. Right. They had to do something they didn't like to do. They had to step out, do something more than someone else did it. They had to push themselves harder than anyone else. They had to be the hardest worker in the room. They had to be the first one in and last one out. That's the mentality you got to have. If you don't, then you're just going to get more of the same. And, you know, you're going to be just like everyone else. And it's going to just, you know, you're not going to change anything.
Right.
You know, if you do keep doing the same thing, Einstein said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. You're going to get the same result doing the same thing. You have to do something different. And we know that you can do it. We know that we have systems and tools to help make it easier for you.
Absolutely.
We can't do the work for you, but we can make it as easy as possible. Mm-hmm. You know, you can unscrew a bolt by your hands, or you can use a wrench, and the wrench makes it a lot easier, but you're still doing the work.
Hey,
that's what we are. We're the wrench. Okay. This equation of network marketing, it's that locked up bolt. You can turn it all you want with your hands, but if you have the right tools, it becomes a lot easier.
That's right.
So
love that analogy.
Yeah.
Great job.
I just thought of that. So, but anyway, thank you guys so much for showing up tonight. Thank you for the questions. We'll get back to you guys on the questions, and we will help you in any way possible. Always feel free to comment below, like and subscribe,
Yes.
share.
And do your one call.
Do your one call this week. If you make one call, please just get out there and do it. If you feel like that you've got someone that may be interested, or if you have a cold call lead, if you have a postcard lead, even if it's a lead from months ago, that doesn't matter. You never know. Things may have changed in the last 6 months for them, so get out there and at least challenge yourself to at least make one call this week to someone about the opportunity.
And hear our voices in your head when you're starting to not do it.
Yes.
You can do it.
Yes, you
You
can do it.
Just one call. You got this.
100%. So until next time, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us on this Thursday evening, cold and chilly.
It's literally cold calling. It's cold outside.
It is. It's very cold outside. Here it's in the single digits. Yeah, it's been in the single digits all day long. So,
yeah.
But until next time, it's Frankie Shayne and it's Katie Lane, and we are out.